Greetings all, welcome to Everything Borrowed, where we sit down to share stories and have conversations with entrepreneurs to artists and everyone in between. Today's episode is powered by Blake's Hard Cider, 100% fresh pressed, all natural and gluten-free, straight from our family's 75-year-old farm in Southeast Michigan. Find us in your local grocer or have Blake's direct ship to your home by visiting blakestore.com. Use promo code EverythingBorrowed to receive 10% off your first order. Must be 21 years of age. Please enjoy mindfully. Our guest today is not only a Detroit native, the CEO and co-founder of Gentleman's Box, but chairman of Subta, the Subscription Trade Association. Have you ever wondered if a subscription service would be beneficial for your business? Christopher George is sharing his story and success in the thriving subscription industry and how businesses unwilling to pivot will be left in the dust. Chris has launched and managed 7 successful businesses, so he's no rookie in this game. Please enjoy. Things for us have been good, man. We, all things considered, having the 1,000 acres and being able to be an outdoor kind of venue, we're much more fortunate than most where, we were one of the few places that was kind of allowed to and, was a safe spot to be able to have an experience this year. So, for us, it's been challenging. More challenging now as the winter sets in, restaurants are closed, our tasting rooms closed, but the hard cider brand is growing and strong and honestly, we're leaning much more. It's made us a better company to a big degree because we're leaning much more into the things we think that diversify kind of our brand, e-commerce and subscriptions being one. We did a subscription for the first year.
Yeah. Well, by the way, thanks for the kit. It was awesome.
Yeah, no problem, man. And it's one of the ways in which we're trying to grow and evolve our e-commerce offering and our subscription idea. And you and I sat down in August, September to talk about subscription services and how that can play a part in a business. And you're kind of the industry expert. I mean, with Subta, the trade organization that supports, subscription, services, and it's such a smart thing, and it's really made us think about it this year. I don't think we would have thought about it, had the pause to think about it. We should have been, but we probably wouldn't have had we not had this pause. So, talk a little bit about the industry and how the hell you got into it. And,
sure.
I think you've started a few companies in the subscription space.
I mean, look, anybody that's has any sort of brand, whether it's retail or e-commerce, needs to be thinking about subscription. So I think that it's really smart that you are thinking about it, right? And so, for myself and like my background, we launched the Gentleman's Box was like the first subscription that I got into. That was 6 years ago. As we saw, I saw that like, I knew I needed to be in e-commerce because I just knew that was like the future, right? Like my family came from a retail background, they owned liquor stores. My dad was selling things that were like 2 miles around his house, right? Or 2 miles around his store, right? And I was like, well, let's take the same concept and sell it to people across the nation. And so then you start to see this pattern towards subscription, and even over the last like 3 years, and even more now than ever, subscription commerce is like the way consumer buying behavior is happening, right? Like look at all the streaming services. I mean, you got like there was 2, and like now there's 10, right? Like you don't even need Comcast television anymore. Like you've got HBO Max, you've got Peacock, you've got YouTube TV. These are all on a subscription basis.
Yeah, I experienced Peacock for the first time like last week. I got into the show Yellowstone and I was like, holy shit, they're doing like streaming. I didn't even know, and it's like free, and now it's, for now, I guess, for me, and it's like, you see everything going in that model.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's like consumer buying behavior is about usage over ownership. Really perfect example of that is Microsoft Office, right? 5 years ago, if you wanted the program, you would have paid $500. You would have lied, you would have said you were a student and got it for like $150.
I did that.
Or you just pay like $12 a month and you had the program.
Yeah.
And you get the
I'm
latest
still a
updates.
student on some shit.
Yeah, right? So it's like you get that on a subscription, you pay monthly, cancel when you want, you don't have to worry about updates, you don't have to get a new CD, and it's just there, right? So it's consumer buying behavior. It's just shifted towards subscription, and everything we're doing, more people are renting versus buying homes. Like you're just seeing it across the board. And I'm a huge believer of it. Brands that have subscription models are seeing much higher valuations. There's predictable income. And then the biggest part of it is like you're building brand experience and brand relationship.
Talk about that a little bit. Is that, are you building it because you're more frequently engaged? Is that?
Yeah, I mean, 100%, right? Like, look, you're going up against a lot, especially these big elephants in the room. Amazon, for example, the Walmarts. Those are all transactional businesses. And if you want to start a t-shirt line, well, I can go to Amazon and buy a t-shirt for cheaper than I could probably buy it from another person, but I'm building an experience with the customer. And when you're able to build an experience with the customer, it's building this relationship, and the consumer is going to be thinking about buying your product from you more often than buying it anywhere else. Dollar Shave Club, great example, right?
I mean, they're like, in my mind, the subscription service that put it in my radar just because they had a funny commercial and I fucking loved it.
Yeah, I mean, they had a viral commercial, but think about like the necessity around it. They made it so you never have to go to Target or Walmart and buy a razor again. And this was 8 years ago they're doing this. But the truth of it, that's a big deal. If my razor doesn't come or my shaving cream, I'm like, shit, what do I do? But Dollar Shave Club makes sure that I have it. So I'll never buy a razor from anywhere else. Not that I'm shaving a lot now, but the truth is that goes along with a lot of businesses. And so having that relationship, having that experience builds that brand equity. And now even more like Gen Z, right? Like they're more about brand values than they are about brand and like what the product is.
Right.
You gotta have good brand values. You gotta be thinking about being socially conscious. You need to be giving back. These are what people are looking for. You've got that category of kids that still wants to wear Louis Vuitton, but like the truth is like there's more that are buying socially conscious products and are more about what's the brand doing to give back to others. Right.
And so, the one thing I've struggled with or I've been trying to figure out is, now that I have not only digital subscriptions, but physical ones that show up, I mean, is that the world where I got like 8 to 15 subscriptions coming in different days and like can't keep track? Like that seems to be the challenge in my consumer head to subscriptions of having at some point too many and you're like, okay, I gotta like stop some of these, or something like that. And like, how do you bridge that, or is that on the business to just provide enough value where it's really like a thing that's really interactive and is that experience?
I mean, if you go back and think, you'll probably realize you have like 15 to 20 subscriptions, right? At iTunes, at apps, it's up there,
exactly.
right? But the truth is, you're thinking about it right, because what some brands don't realize, like when they're coming to market with a new subscription and they're like, oh, we're different than everybody, so they can, Peacock and Netflix can exist together. Why are they successful? They've got flagship shows, right? Like I sign up for Netflix because of Ozark and Stranger Things. And like, I just watched Queen's Gambit, awesome show, series. But like Disney Plus, literally for The Mandalorian, I pay for it all year for the next season to come out. But truth is that consumers, you get to start to think about consumers' share of wallet. They have a certain amount of money they want to spend every month. So even if you're not competing, you've got to build this brand relationship so they don't, when it does get to this point where like, I have too many, I got to start canceling some, I don't want them to choose mine to cancel, right? Am I a necessity? Am I providing value? Like the streaming services that do not have a flagship series will not survive. They'll have less people that are on there. Subscriptions that are not providing huge value are going to have a lesser chance of surviving. Subscriptions that are not providing, in a lot of cases, if it comes down to like a situation where we've got an economy drawback, like you need to be something that people need, not want, right? The brands like, again, Dollar Shave Club, they're providing value, they're providing a necessity, right? Smart. Think about like everything from your household that you need every day, whether it's toilet paper, whether it's sponges, whether it's cleaning supplies. If those can get delivered to your door at a value, it's a no-brainer, right? And there is a large percentage of consumers that are getting to this point of like, I don't want to have to leave my house. COVID like made another reason not to want to leave the house. But like, I like things delivered. Like, I don't even know the last time I went grocery shopping unless someone like made me go. Like groceries are getting delivered to my house. And then like I started to think like, I just ordered a bunch of cases of water. Like I don't want to carry those to the grocery store. So like I'm so glad Instacart just delivered it to my front door, right? Yeah. So it's definitely the future and things brands need to be thinking about.
So, for the entrepreneurs looking to get into e-commerce and subscription, how should they go about, thinking it? And what are the things that people don't realize getting into it? Because for me, as I've started to look at this process, fulfillment and distribution, I mean, that's what Amazon nails, right? And they, and are able to deliver a real value in how quickly they can deliver and how on time and how updated they are on that. And so how does someone in a smaller business compete, and what are those things they got to think about?
I think it's less about, like those things to me, like the fulfillment, like that, like we can figure that out.
Sure.
Like it's easy. But what a brand needs to be thinking about is how you're going to provide an experience that a consumer couldn't get on a retail level. Mm-hmm. Really, really good example is Chewy.com. Mm-hmm. They launched their dog food and supplies. Like, what's so special about that? Like,
my wife is a subscriber.
Right. Okay. And I'll tell you why she probably is. Yeah. you had Pet Supplies Plus, retail, okay, fine, go online. But like anything you wanted to get on Chewy.com, you could get on Amazon.com. There was no difference. Sure. But they came in heavy, and they were like valued at they got bought for like $3.5 billion by Pet Supplies Plus, or some outrageous number, right? But what was Chewy.com doing was they were providing an experience that you could not get on another level, that you could not get on Amazon. How are they doing that? Their customer service reps were so well trained that you could call them and say, hey, my dog is a 7-year-old husky. He's having stomach issues. What should he eat? Boom, this. If I call someone at Amazon, they're gonna be like, what, right? And then like the customer experience, I don't remember the net number, but I believe in like 2018, it was said that they wrote 3 million handwritten holiday cards to all their customers.
Isn't that nice?
I mean, it's a special touch,
That's
right?
a special touch.
You know, I could argue that could have been printed and still been just as valuable, but like the handwritten part is like, I mean, it's a big deal. Like the way they valued their customers set them apart. Mm-hmm. It wasn't just about great price. It wasn't just about delivery. It was the experience they're providing. And then like, you hear things like if you ordered food and you called them and said, hey, my dog didn't eat it, they'll say, take that food and drop it off at a shelter. They don't ask you to return it. Yeah. I mean, this is what builds a brand experience. Now, I don't shop for my dog food anywhere else. It's on auto ship with Chewy. Even if Amazon's like a few bucks cheaper, it's like if Chewy's got an auto ship, like it's coming. Right. I'm not worried about it.
Sure. Is subscription a business in and of itself? And I know that answer is yes, but is it a business in itself? Is it complementary to already existing businesses? I mean, I know it ranges a gamut there, but what are your thoughts on how businesses, how much should people lean into it that are currently operating, and how much is it kind of an accessory to their main business? I mean, what have you seen?
Look, to me, they should be leaning into it more than any other part of their business. Again, you're building a relationship. You're not transactional. I don't believe in transactional businesses anymore. Like where the consumer comes, they buy, it gets delivered, hands are clean. There's too much evidence and too much data showing that when you have customers that are engaged with your brand and they're having the delivery of every single month, they're more than likely going to keep those purchases with you. The amount that they're spending every year with you is going to double, triple from when they were just buying on e-commerce. I'll give you a perfect example of a brand. This is a large clothing brand. It was a women's, I won't say the name, but it was a large women's clothing lingerie brand. You could probably guess who it was. So they had on average.
It's a secret.
Yes, it's a secret, yes. They had on average, the consumer on average was shopping 1.5 times a year.
That's not a lot.
If they built a subscription model, they were probably going to get 6 to 8 purchases per year. Right? And then you can start to get like really creative there, right? Oh, the argument is, well, we're going to hurt our retail level. Like, no, one, you're going to first of all, your store is not everywhere, so people can get it. Right. Number two, the women's underwear comes in, and then you throw a $20 coupon to buy the matching bra. Come in the store and get it. Now you're driving people back in, right? Don't want to come in the store? Okay, go online and get it. Like, you can get super creative there. And then with the subscription model, specifically a subscription box, or even any sort of subscribe and save, you can throw in some extra things, right? Like imagine if your Chewy.com box came with a sample of another treat of a new brand coming into market. Your dog loves it. What are you going to do? You're going to go buy the full package.
Right.
So it's exposure. Now you're getting more revenue from the consumer.
Sure. It's a little self-explanatory, but talk a little about subscribe and save. What businesses follow that philosophy? I know there's a lot of them, but
right. So it's typically a product that's a depleting product, meaning something that's you're gonna use up in a month or a couple months. And instead of buying the one-off, they say sign up for subscribe and save 10%. Get an auto ship.
Got it.
So the consumer is like, you know what? I love this coffee.
Vitamins or something.
Vitamins. Like I love this coffee.
Yeah, coffee.
And it's $20 a bag. If I subscribe and save, it's $18 a bag, and it gets delivered every month. Of course, I'm going to sign up for it. Okay. I can cancel at any time.
Right.
And if I love it and I know that I want it every single month, then I'm going to sign up for it.
Right. And we talked about this a little bit before we jumped on the show, but this pandemic has been extremely challenging for everyone and the whole world, quite frankly. But the subscription model, the e-commerce model, seems to have is a bright spot. As you look at businesses and you look at and businesses that were more e-commerce and subscription enabled seem to have fared better than others. And what's the state of the industry, and what are you seeing? I mean, you guys are kind of the
the hub for it.
The hub for it. So.
Yeah. No, I mean, look, e-commerce brands have done tremendous. I mean, I think e-commerce, there was don't have the data point in my head, but it was like 40% more online sales this year than last year. I don't know the exact number. Shopify came out with this really good report, but there was like this huge number of new online buyers that they've never seen, like we've never seen, right? And so, and people didn't want to go to the stores. A lot of the stores were closed. So like your only option was to buy online. Now, with all of that great like driven revenue and all these new eyeballs and all these new online buyers, there also comes like things that go wrong there, right?
Yeah, right.
Delays in shipping, we're seeing a ton of delays in shipping. We weren't ready for this huge holiday season and this uptick. So like products are not getting delivered by Christmas.
Everything's out of stock.
Everything's out of stock. Things aren't getting delivered on time. That causes like a consumer to have a bad taste in their mouth about purchasing online, right? So like you have to iron these things out. But in general, I mean, that whole e-commerce space, online space, especially for gift giving is just, I think it was 10 years of growth in 3 months on online sales.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
I actually think that was exactly what it was. It was 10 years of growth in 3 months.
That's crazy. And, so you as being, one of the key parts of Subta, and for the uninitiated, what is Subta?
Yeah. So Subta is a subscription trade association. Yeah. And what we do is we help business professionals find profitability through subscriptions. And we're that all resource to building your subscription model. We've got tons of free content. You can join as a member. If you're a supplier, we're the largest community of direct-to-consumer subscription brands. So our goal is to provide as much content and help as many entrepreneurs and business professionals build amazing businesses through subscriptions. We're fortunate enough to like have built one of our own and have it acquired, to like building the largest community. I've got relationships with the greatest subscription business owners in the world, and it's so great for me to gain knowledge from them and chat with them. And so we've just become that leading resource for everything subscription.
You're really the conduit for people learning and wanting to lean into this idea and this philosophy around business. And how did that come to be? Was it through the subscription business first, and then you saw an opportunity or a need? It
was in 2016. Paul says to me, "Hey, we should start an event called Sub Summit where we bring subscription boxes together." We're like, okay. Like that's a great idea because now we can get all these leaders in the room, and when we want to learn something about building Gentleman's Box, like we can reach out to them. Like I had Michael, who's the co-founder of FatFit come speak. We had Katya, who's the co-founder of Birchbox, come speak. At the time, she was booming, right? So in our mind, it was like, holy crap! Like I got their cell phone number. Like, hey, I'm having an issue here. How did you handle this?
Right.
And so we didn't even think it was a business that was going to build towards any sort of profitability. We said, let's bring this community together. And it worked. And what was a 200-person event over a day and a half, which was awesome. May of 19, which was our last in-person event, was over 1,000 attendees, over 150 speakers, over 95 exhibitors. And we've now built the largest direct-to-consumer subscription event in the world. And we've got the leading community. So what's happened is our mindset changed. We said, wow, like, this is so great for everybody. Mm-hmm. You could be sitting in the room with your competitor, but like you can still have a really good relationship with them, right? You can learn from another business and it's in a different category from you. And so it just worked. And it worked really well.
The nice thing about being in, a rising market and a growing market is there's enough for everyone. And you can really create great relationships with competitors and learn from each other. And as the growth starts to slow, unfortunately you do see a little bit closer to the chest with ideas and whatnot, but it seems like this industry is very open and very very engaged in kind of understanding where the future goes. And in your estimation, where does e-commerce go and subscription go into the future? Yeah. Everything changes, and I'm still trying to get caught up with what it is currently. Yeah, so but someone who's in it, what are the types of things that businesses may or may integrate into that?
Yeah. So, look at the future. And like to me, based on all the data, our data is showing us that by 2023, 75% of all e-commerce companies will have a subscription arm. I think that because of what's happened with COVID, that might be 2022. Right. Online purchasing has accelerated. So whatever was going to take 10 years to get to how many people were buying online, that's been accelerated by maybe 7 years. We might see it happen in 2-3 years. Given the data Shopify sent, it's again, 10 years of growth in 3 months. It's insane. So I think you're going to see more and more of it. I think you're going to see consumers, I think you're going to see almost all e-commerce brands, if they do not have a subscription arm, they're behind. It's just like in 2000, if you were a retail store and didn't have a .com, it's the same thing. You need to have it. Those that don't are the ones that don't pivot. As an entrepreneur, you know this, you have to continuously pivot. If you get comfortable, you get left behind. And I'm a big advocate of everybody that's an entrepreneur, and I love trying, my goal in life is to inspire as many as I possibly can. I have this goal of have an effect on 100 million lives, however I can do that, right? And that can come in many fashions. Some people say to me, well, that's a crazy number. I say, well, look at if a company has 10 million subscribers and their founder learned something from me that did a change to their business and had an effect on other consumers, well, there's 10 million of them, right? So I can do it. I have full belief I can do it. But as entrepreneurs, going back to what I'm trying to get at is everything that's happened with COVID, things have been very, very tough for a lot of people, right? The truth is we can't weather the storm. We have to learn to dance in the rain. It means we have to make a pivot. We have to make a change. And so I try to instill that in everybody I'm talking to, because we had a horrible year, right? At Subta, I know tons of all these restaurants. I mean, the B2B event industry might have been the most impacted. We couldn't even bring people together, right? But the truth is, we can't complain. We're grateful. I'm grateful to be sitting here with you. The ability to just have that. And there's so many things that could be worse. We just have to pivot. We have to learn to dance in the rain, make adjustments to our business, and that's going to give us our best opportunity for success.
Right, and I think that's well stated. When you look at subscription businesses, and you have a different peer view into the different companies that are doing subscription, who is at the top of their game, that who is operating at such a level that is aspirational and really has it dialed in and is clicking at all cylinders.
For sure, brands like FabFitFun, Ipsy, they're crushing.
Yeah.
And they're crushing because they built a community. When you have consumers that are having FabFitFun box opening parties where they're getting together and they're opening their box, that's a tremendous effect you're having on the consumer, right? They all can't wait. All their friends are getting it and they're waiting to get together to open the box. That's insane, right? So the brands that have built really, really good communities are the ones that are seeing tremendous success. When you look at Netflix just was hey, Blockbuster, you don't have this figured out.
Right.
Blockbuster messed up. How they didn't do that first was insane.
It's insane.
What happened? They got comfortable. Toys R Us got comfortable. They got left behind. So brands, those are a perfect example of where you have to pivot and make a move.
That's great. For companies we need to sit down and talk offline, and we got to get our shit together here at Blake's, and look at that a little bit more aggressively. We have leaned very aggressively into e-commerce as it relates to Blake's Hard Cider and Blake Farms, but with our different offerings, it's might need an expert's opinion on how to really package that in a meaningful subscription that adds value to the community. One of the things we did was an on-premise subscription of a pickup box for fresh produce. I really like that idea. That's hard to scale and hard to get out beyond our local areas, but we're playing with the idea and we're going to work together here shortly. But for other entrepreneurs looking to get involved and learn through Subta, is there online tutorials? Do you guys work with companies? Can they reach out to you and have you handhold them through the process? And how do people engage with Subta?
Yeah, so there's tons of, if you go to YouTube and type in Subta, there's tons of content on how to grow your business. We got a Facebook group called Subscriptionpreneurs. We can put links maybe to the videos. Of course. And there's just tons of free content on Subta.com. We also do engage with select brands. It's hard, we have a handful that we'll work with at a time, but we also know great coaches and those that have had a lot of success growing brands that we can direct them to. But there's so much free content. Just in general in the world, even if you're not on subscriptions, you can learn to do anything just Google, online for free.
I learned how to make hard cider by Googling. Exactly. And it's not all through that, but that's the first step. And then you start asking questions, and you go see other people that know what the hell they're doing, and you ask them questions, and you Google some more, and then there is this period of empowerment right now that you can learn what you want to learn. The internet has provided that.
It's an advantage we have. Our grandparents didn't have that.
Yeah, and if you're interested in learning something, the other thing I've noticed is people are willing to sit down and talk and help you learn. So it's really about going on that journey of education and learning, and then being self-sufficient to either find the content online or seek it out with our fellow man and try to get an answer. So, it's exciting stuff that I think all businesses are going to be considering. I know I am, a deeper e-commerce, pull, as well as, subscriptions as well. So, really appreciate you coming on and talking to us a little bit more about all that stuff, because it's an education for me, and I think for a lot of people, because as many businesses are e-commerce driven, there's so many that aren't, and there's so many that probably need to look at making that pivot,
100%.
So good.
Yeah, 100%.
Appreciate it, brother. Thank you so much, man. Yeah, of course, dude. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. You can find Everything Borrowed on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Show your support and drop a 5-star review to help more people find our channel. Don't forget to subscribe. Stay up to date with us on Facebook, Instagram, and everythingborrowedpodcast.com. EBP is produced by Chelsea Cox, Jason Brown, and Vox Adams. Edited and filmed by Nick Ferguson. Art is by Adam Yarborough. Everything Borrowed is an after-hours media production. Copyright 2021.